Welcome to the Knowledge Boner podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Starr. I got my boy, Wally Wynn. Wally, how's it going, man?
What's up, guys? Been a terrible, I can't say terrible, but been an exhausting weekend doing some client work, taking some pictures, doing some videos. I'm kind of like a jack of all trades. So, at any point in time, you could see me on a computer with a camera in my hand. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know we discussed networking last week, and then Wally got to go to a networking event, practicing what we preach, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. I met a lot of people. The funny thing is, I went to this event to work for a client, but I ended up coming out with like 5 or 6 numbers of different business owners and that kind of thing. So that's going to be very interesting to go and, follow up and meet those people. So
that's awesome. Yeah, very, very busy weekend indeed. So everyone that did tune in last week, that was the productivity series. The week before that was kind of lead gen. And I think we're going to keep running with it. And this week, actually is pretty exciting. I love talking about this type of stuff, but we're going to kind of talk about money management as well as multiple streams of income. A lot of people that are tuning in, especially if you are interested in entrepreneurship, I mean, let's be real. Being an entrepreneur isn't just about freedom. You guys want to make fucking money, right? I mean, that's what it's all about. Is kind of having that time freedom. To have income streams kind of working for you. They say that the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. So people listening in maybe wonder, okay, well, that's great, but how do you get extra streams of income? What does that mean? What do you focus on? How do you do it? And it's kind of a problem. It's a double-edged sword, which is kind of why we're doing this week, because you may be thinking, okay, well, I have to do a million things, right? I gotta be focused on building all these income streams, right? And then it divides up your focus. So what we're going to kind of guide this week is we're going to talk about the importance of having multiple streams of income, what it even means, how to set money aside to invest into those type of things, and how to kind of stack it while staying focused, right? So I don't want people to be listening in and think, okay, well, I'm going to go get a job, and then on the side I'm going to get a second job because that's 2 streams of income, and then I'm going to build this on the side, and then that's going to be a 3rd stream of income, and then I'm going to go walk the neighbor's dog, and then that's going to be a 4th stream of income. See what I mean? So I don't want people to get it confused and understand the difference between assets. So let's go ahead and talk. Let's kind of jump into the very basics of it, okay? And Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, talks about this, and he labels the top 6 money making management words, and that's your income, your expenses, your assets, liabilities, and it's all about cash flow, right? So if you're listening in, the very first basic you have to do, especially before you become an entrepreneur, if you can't manage your own money before you even dump in anything else, it's going to be key. You have to be able to manage your money. So Wally, explain to them, because I know we're very used to being tight on money, especially being entrepreneurs, as well as kind of like managing it, not just going out and blowing and kind of setting aside and staying broke. So for the very beginning, why don't you talk about that? Like what kind of advice do you have for first to, before worrying about investing, like kind of just money management tips from the get-go?
Well, the first thing is you got to grow up. And what I mean by grow up is I'm 25, Dylan's 30, 31, right? Dylan, you just turned 31. Happy birthday, Dylan, by the way.
Thank you.
But, so, the first thing is you got to grow up. And what I mean by grow up is, a lot of people our age, what we want to do is, you want to go out to the bar and drink with your buddies, or you want to go, buy drinks for girls, or you want to go out to eat all the time. You want to do all those kinds of things, right? Not to say that all the things are bad, right? But you have to figure out, what's a need, right? And what's a want, right? And there are things that are necessities, and there are things that you want to do, and there's things that you need to do. You need to eat, right? But you can go to the grocery store and buy groceries and not spend $400 a week on, eating out and that kind of stuff. But, that's just the basics. So the first thing is just growing up. One, you got to grow up and figure out like how to manage your money. And then the next piece of it, it did freeze for a second, but I got it. So the next part of it, and number 2 is figuring out where to put your money. And so, the common trend is okay, when I get more money, I'm just going to keep stacking it away and I'll put it in a mutual fund, or, maybe I'll put it in some stocks and a little bit of money, that kind of stuff. Right. But the thing about investing your money in like little stuff like that is that you don't really have any control over that. right? You don't have the control. The stocks can go up, stocks can go down. You have no control of what's going to happen to that money. So even so, you don't have a lot of money, right? So if you just put all 2,000 of your dollars in stocks or a mutual fund or anything, and that thing all of a sudden tanks, boom, now you have no money, none. All the money you saved up, your golden egg is gone.
I'm glad you said that, because it was funny when I was watching a presentation by Robert Kiyosaki. He put in the assets and liability columns, and then one of the things in liabilities, for those listening in, that may be kind of mind blowing to them, is he put 401k. Because what's everyone think that you should do? You should go and you get a job, and then you should be smart, right? Set side away for your future when you're 65 years old. Put money into mutual funds and stuff, stash it in your 401k and let it build. And he put 401k as a liability, not even an asset, because you can't touch it till you're 65. You pay a crap ton in fees. You have no control over it whatsoever. And he's like, average broke people rich people and wealthy people don't worry about that shit. Like, they don't touch it. So I think that alone is kind of everything you're saying, just kind of goes against the norm, because we're taught that, right? Focus on mutual funds and this and that. And so if you're strapped for cash, right, you're very, very, very beginning, because I know a lot of people watching this, they're already going to start coming up with excuses. And let's kind of throw a little bit of Grant Cardone when he talks about, everyone needs to sell their stuff first. So let's say you're adamant you want to get into business, right? And what's the first thing that he talks about is get rid of all your extra shit, right? Penny pinch, and then start selling your stuff. So stuff that you absolutely don't need, that you can just get cash flow immediately, set aside to invest into yourself or to get going for your business. I've seen what you carry with you. You're very minimalist right now. You don't have that much shit at all. Hell, your wardrobe is pretty small, right, Wally?
No, I've got like 4 tank tops and a couple pairs of pants and a couple of nice shirts. I try to, you don't really need much else besides that, because it's not like we work internet business. It's not like I go to a job, so when I go out in public, I just need to have a nice shirt on, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about what I got to show up at an office or something. So yeah, just thinking about stuff like that, working for yourself, the transition is definitely different. Like, you got to get into a whole different mindset. And then, kind of going on, piggybacking off what I said before, the stocks and mutual funds thing. Now, number three, the thing is you don't have enough money yet. Doesn't matter. I guarantee it. Whatever amount of money you were trying to put aside, it's not enough yet. And what I mean by that is, if you're thinking, okay, I want to put aside like $2,000 or $3,000, it's not enough. You might as well take that $2,000 or $3,000 and buy a course and invest in yourself and learn more to increase your earning potential. So that way, the next time you're thinking about investing, it's instead of it's $2,000, it's like, oh, I have $50K on the side. Now you're looking at money that you could actually invest, right?
Right. Yeah, and a lot of that comes with knowledge too, right? Because you want to make sure that's the problem with when you focus on like assets and liabilities, is if you don't have the skill set and the knowledge to know what to do with that money, you can lose it. So you do run that risk, but it comes with time. And I think that's what most people are just like, oh, I'm just going to go and set this money aside and I'm just going to drop this in a stock and blah, blah, blah. And you don't, what if you have no experience in understanding, how much you're paying in expenses and how to even recognize what's going to happen with a stock. You've never done it before.
Well, you could take that exact same, you're saying stock, but you just insert the word real estate right there. And all of a sudden people will be like, Harry, think about it. If you have no idea what you're doing in real estate and you drop all your money, let's say you drop, your $2,000 or $3,000 to put down payment on a house. And as soon as you get the house, everything inside breaks. Your AC breaks, your refrigerator breaks, your oven breaks, like all your plumbing goes out, all that stuff. Do you have enough money to cover that? All those expenses, if it happens right when you buy that house? No, because you dropped all your money. So now you're gonna have to file bankruptcy. Now you're gonna have to, get more funds, maybe borrow from people, take a loan out. Like, you put yourself in a really heavy financial crutch for no reason, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's another good point, is most people think that buying a house is in the assets category, and it's actually not. It's in liability. So the biggest thing that you guys first have to realize is when you have to set money aside to be able to invest, right? And you have to be able to recognize asset versus liability. So if you're owning a house, it's not an asset. If it's not producing cash flow, right, it takes money out. Robert talks about that. He's like, what happens when you own your house, the mortgage? Who's getting the money? The bank is, right? Who's paying all the insurance and the property taxes? He's like, you are. Who has all the maintenance and everything? But people's mindset is like, oh, but if the market's down and I buy this house, it is an asset because it could be worth more in the future, but it's not producing cash flow. Sure, it's costing, you're paying money out to the whole time while you're waiting for that to go up in value. And if you sell it, great, but that doesn't make it an asset because it's not producing cash flow. And what was interesting is he talks about when he first got his first apartment building, and he was making back in the day, it was $25 a month. And he's like, he was super excited. He's like, oh my gosh, like, $25 a month, like it's producing cash flow. And then today, between him and his wife, they have like 6,500 apartments, all just producing a monthly cash flow residual for doing nothing, right? And that's really key. So before we dive into, maybe we can make kind of recognizing assets, liabilities, an episode this week, but and today, just kind of focus on the first steps of what to do. So we know that we need to focus on assets, right? But we have to have capital. So step one is you definitely need to manage your own time and your own money, right? So first you need to look at your income and your expenses. Okay, so especially if you're strapped, if you're going to get into a business, you have to minimize your expenses. So you're gonna have to cut all the shit that you're blowing money on, just like Wally said. If you're spending, I know people that spend like $300 on a pair of fucking jeans. Like, and I'm just like, I don't get it. I can't even see myself ever doing that as a multi-millionaire, honestly, just because I think it's a waste of money. And alcohol. They say that entrepreneurs are creative with creating, income streams. It'd be cool to just one day be like, oh, well, Dylan, Wally, why'd you guys buy that bar? Oh, well, we wanted to go out and party and drink, and we realized that's a waste of money. So we have our own nightclub bar now. So now when we spend money in alcohol, it's still an asset in our pocket.
Yeah, I'm paying myself. It doesn't matter.
we took the expense and turned it into an asset, right?
Yeah.
Just being creative with it. That'd be hilarious. But first, managing your own money, right? And getting stuff in, and then so setting aside. So first you stay broke, you sell all your shit, right? And then now you have to recognize like what skills you need, right? And whether to invest into or what to focus on. So what do you recommend for people if they need to, maybe they're working a job, they sold all their stuff, right? They're penny pinching, they got their expenses in order. So they know what their income is and their expenses are low, because that's obviously you want your income to outweigh your expenses. And to go further in that, guys, stuff as simple as renegotiating. Like if you're paying a lot in credit cards, you can call up and be like, look, I need my payments renegotiated. I need my percentage renegotiated. Like, I'm trying to get my expenses low. You can talk to your landlord and negotiate. Even I don't care if you get $50 off a month. A win's a win, right? So you're at that point. So what do you recommend at that point? Okay, so they get their expenses way low. They know their income is outweighing their expenses. Now they want to focus on business and money making activities to invest into themselves. So what should they do next?
Well, then they got to figure out what they want to do. What do you want to do? It's like, and that's the funny thing is, I think I said this in an earlier podcast episode, but I'm gonna repeat it. And we had there's this guy, my brother, my oldest brother, he mentors people, but he works a 9-to-5 too, works a high level job in a hospital. But he mentored someone, and the guy came and he came to the house and he wanted, he's getting some advice and that kind of stuff. And I sat down with him before my brother came, and my brother, me and him get along. It's like, I'm an entrepreneur. He's just, he works 9-to-5, but he's actually an entrepreneur in the workspace, which is pretty interesting, which we could go to a whole nother different like topic on that. But, anyway, so we're talking to him, and, and he's just like, hey man, what do you do? All that kind of stuff. We're going to shoot the shit back and forth. And then the first thing this dude says is, man, I want to make money. And I just smile at it. And I'm like, just like everybody else in the world, man. Like, and he's like, well, and I was like, okay, well, what are you here for? And he's telling me that, he just moved to whatever. He's trying to get out of his situation, blah, blah, blah. And, the key point of this conversation was this next part, right? And he was like, I just really want to make some more money. That's what people focus on. They're like, okay, I want to make more money. I agree you should focus on that. But the first thing you should focus on when you want to make money is, what the hell do you want to do? And that's the first thing I said to him. I said, okay, what do you want to do? I was like, my eldest brother, he says it kind of a funny way, and I'll say it exactly like he says it. He's like, there's a million ways to make money. He's like, you can go suck dick on the side of the street, sell yourself, right? And, you can make a great living like that, but that's not how you want to make your living, right? It's not, right? It's not. So just, just like that. So how do you want to make, how would you like to make your money? because and I mean, the funny thing for me is like that was such a novel thing for me, but it made me realize it's like, yeah, there is a million ways to make money, but you have to pick which way you want to do it first. And so once you pick, then you can decide, okay, what skills are within that job, or skills are within that thing that business that I want to learn, and then you start researching into those things that you need to learn, and then that's where you start investing your money into.
Okay. So let's break it down for everyone, right? They know what they want to do. They kind of have an idea of what their, entrepreneur journey, what they want to do, or what their perfect life looks like. They reverse engineer it, right?
Right.
So how much money should you set aside? Because I know we talked about this, and you need to focus on skills. And I think a biggest mistake, and I see people do this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I see posts on Facebook where people be like, "Hey guys, need some recommendations. I have like $2,000 set aside, and I want to know a good investment." And they'll ask about stuff like, should I do Forex? Should I do Bitcoin? Does anyone know any good stocks I can put this into? I want this to multiply and duplicate. And then in my head, I'm just thinking, oh gosh, like you don't get it. Like you don't get it. Like that money needs to go to a skill. A skill. Like don't worry. Grant Cardone says until you have $100,000 set aside, think about that. $100,000 set aside. You should not be worried about investing into anything, right? No stocks, no real estate. Don't worry about any of that shit until you have the capital, and you got to get your skills game up, right? So how can somebody, if they're strapped for a job right now and they need the extra income, but they have to set money aside, because people may be listening to this and they think, okay, well that's fine and dandy, but what do I do? Like I only get paid so much. Some people maybe they're getting minimum wage or $10 an hour, and let's say they follow our steps, they sell shit, they get their expenses down. But how do they set money aside to build up to this? And so what advice would you have to those people? Because I already know what's going through people's head listening to this. They already have that excuse coming in.
Absolutely, yeah. So really, you just have to, it just comes down to the numbers, right? And you have to really figure out how much money it really takes for you to live. And that's what it comes down to. What I mean by that is if you're on like a $10 an hour, like budget right now, so you pay $10 an hour, and you get your paycheck at the end of 2 weeks, that kind of stuff. Like really break down how much money you're spending. So what I mean by that is, is look at those things that we talked about before. It's like, am I spending alcohol here? Am I buying extra shit here? That kind of stuff. And once you like really take a freaking look at it, like, I mean, like it is going to be painful. Like you're going to look at your bank account, like, and you need to look at your statement and look at it and be like, okay, where am I spending all my stuff? Right. And then once you figure out where your money's going out, go ahead.
Darren Hardy, that shit, track it.
Yeah.
Darren Hardy says, like spend almost like you're working out, like spend a whole week, and every time you buy something, even if it's bubble gum, write it on a piece of paper. And then at the end of the week, literally look at it. Don't go with your bank accounts, like actions. So you're aware of what you're spending.
Yeah.
And he talks about what happens is you end up second guessing after doing it so much time. You're like, do I really need to buy this? Because I don't want to write in my book. And I already know it's going to be a waste of money because you're aware of it.
It's kind of funny. The next thing is once you figure out, where all your money is. Now, what I mean by that is like, it's like to the freaking cent where your money is going in and out, right? Then you look at it and say, okay, how much of this do I need to budget? That's what it comes into budgeting, right? So you can say, okay, I can budget this amount of money and this will be how much I live off of. And I need to put a certain percentage aside. Now, the next question that you're going to ask is, how much percentage do I put aside? What do I put aside to live off of? What do I live on? What do I take? If you go really, really extreme, like Grant Cardone, then Grant Cardone says that you live off 40% of your income.
So you put away aside 40%.
No, you put away 40%, right? You put away 40%. You got to pay the tax man, right? And then you got to put away another. What is it? You put away 40% for the tax man. Then another 40% comes in. That's your income. And then you got to put at least 40%. Yeah, you live off 20% of your income, right? That's his numbers. Is 40% is tax man, 40% is your expenses and stuff, and then the other, yeah, exactly.
Well, that's off your business though. So, because when they get to the point of their business, right, they have to pay all those taxes. So obviously, if someone's listening to this and they're budgeting it out and they're working, they're already paying taxes off that check.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, already taken out. Oh, you should just. Right. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. That's from Grant Cardone's thing.
And what's interesting. And exactly. When you get to the business portion, 40%, and you can still do that. But like, I know for people that are working, they'll be like, oh God, 40% so much, I can't do it. And what was interesting, I learned by, a previous guy I was in a program with, this young kid. I think he's like 22 years old. He was mentored by Dan Pena, the $1 billion man. And I guess what Dan taught them, which was very interesting, is a method that I'm excited to share with everyone. is how to increase your income and set aside 100% of it. And what he meant by that is when you're at that level, like let's say you know that your budget and what you have is $2,000 a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to have your 2K a month.
Mm-hmm.
That's to pay everything off, and you want to increase your income. And you go to your boss and you talk him into giving you a minor raise, and you have an extra $500 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So right now your cap every single month is going to be 2,000. Every single cent above that 2,000 mark goes set aside into an account. That's how you, so as you increase your income, if you make 3,000 one month, guess what? 1,000 of it's going to be set aside to
I
invest
see.
into yourself to make those jumps, right?
Yep.
And then when you're comfortable, you can make a decision. You can either stay off the $2,000 a month, living off of it, or you can increase your lifestyle by 10% every single time. Meaning, instead of setting aside 100% of that extra, you just set aside 90%, and that little smidget of 10% will go away. So if you made 3,000 one month, you pay yourself 2,100, right? 10% of the extra 1,000, and the 900 would go into your account. So as you make quantum leaps in your business, you can still increase your lifestyle by 10% while still saving, setting aside a massive amount.
Dude,
I mean, think about it, like
that's
me,
good.
you
Yeah.
know, like, dude, $3,000, like think about $3,000 a month, guys. Even as an entrepreneur, like I can happily live off of $3,000 a month while I'm focused on my business, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's plenty. I don't need a bunch of shit. Like 3,000 is plenty of fucking money.
Well, and
Eat,
then
gym.
one thing we need to talk about too is, what's the difference, Dylan? And like, you can talk about this for a while, I'm sure, but what's the difference between $3,000 at home when you work at a home-based job, and then $3,000 when you work in a 9 to 5, like per month?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Well, the difference is at home, you're kind of in control of your budget and your spending, right? So you can obviously eat cheap, eat groceries, and you're not spending a lot in gas. So the problem is when you work a 9 to 5, maybe you're driving back and forth, so you have the gas expense. And the other thing is, I don't know about you guys, but when you're working 9 to 5, they give you that crutch lunch, right? So you may have like 30 minutes of a lunch break. And then what's every business end up having in there? They have those damn vending machines.
Mm-hmm.
And you always end up, and you eat out and you eat vending machines and snacks because you're hungry all the time, right? And you're stuck there for 7 to 8 hours a day. So not only are you eating unhealthy, but it's like a double whammy. You're giving money back to them. I've actually talked to some business owners that own vending machines. They make a fuck ton of money. Like I didn't realize how much it was, but I was like, holy shit. And it's just so enticing, right? So it's, you're going to have expenses regardless. Maybe your business and stuff, if you're working from home, you're still going to be driving around because you got network and all that stuff. But, that stuff, it's tedious, like how much you're going to be spending in terms of gas and all that, especially if you're networking correctly.
Yeah, it's extra. It's just all extra fluff, right? Because that 3,000 at home, like you can stretch that way further. You know what I mean? Like I'm thinking,
Yep.
you can stretch it so much further. Like $500 even is like way different at home than it is in a normal job. Because
Absolutely.
I got to go buy a uniform, or you know what, I got to go to my job that day. I blew up my tire because I've been driving it so much, so now I have a tire expense, and I got to get more oil changes now, right? And all those.
Yeah,
other-
I mean, what's cool about it is like if you know what your budget is, guys, and you're increasing it, and let's say you go from 2,000 and you're able to increase by 10%, and you're at 3,000 a month plus setting money aside, you can break that 2,000 a month and set that extra 500 into another account for like fun and vacations and whatever.
Mhm.
You can still live, right? You can still enjoy life after that point and have that money there. But the biggest thing and the biggest takeaway from today's episode that people have to understand is you have to stop saving for the sake of saving, because that's what you're taught. You were taught to set money aside for an emergency, a rainy fucking day. You should invest into a 401k. And people are falling into this trap, and they can't start a business. They have no skills. When in reality, all the wealthy people and entrepreneurs and stuff are saving for the sake of investing. So I want you guys to understand that when you set this money aside into this account, you should, in your mind, have full expectations of spending it to invest into yourself.
Mhm.
So that's courses, programs, whatever it is you want to do, maybe mentorship,
Man,
maybe it's a conference.
This hits me like so hard, because this is something that me and you had to do very recently. You know what I mean? Like I had, we had some, like you guys, when we started this podcast, we were starting to, pick up pace in our businesses. And so, that obviously when you pick up pace, that comes with increasing income, right? And so, you don't think my increase in income that I didn't want to just like, go and do whatever the hell start drinking, partying crap. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you easily could. And you can easily fall into like every time you increase your income, every time it goes up, you're going to feel that. You're going to feel the want. You're going to like, oh my gosh, like maybe I should do this. Maybe I should don't. And I would implore you, and I would hope that if you watch the video and you would see me pointing my hand at you right now, please do not do that. Please
Yeah.
do not.
I had this conversation last night with an awesome guy I met. I'm joining his team, going to be closing for a very high level influencer. So I'm super excited about that opportunity of having that influencer as a client and making money this week. And we were talking about investing, and he told me that this past month alone, he spent on masterminding and self education $31,000 in a month. He invested $31,000 in 1 month just in personal development education. So
Mm-hmm.
like, think about that. Now people listening will be like, you're out of your fucking mind.
Mm-hmm.
You're out of your mind. Like, who
You're
the hell
kidding me.
would,
Yeah, no, you would not want to get an education bill. Like anybody that works a normal job right now would not want to get an education bill from some of these mentors. Because like I would guarantee, like I think what some of our mentors, I know mine in particular. He actually said it to himself. He spent 150K in 1 month just
yeah.
on mentorship and training, right?
And I think, and the difference is, like, guys, when I hear that, like, that excites me. Like, I'm excited to be able to get to the point where I can invest $150,000, and I would do it in a heartbeat. If I had if I had 150K and I could drop that into mentorship, and I know it's going to scale that and give me the means to quadruple 150K per month, right? I would do it in a heartbeat. Like, it excites me when I hear that shit. I'm just like, when I hear that someone says like, oh, I just dropped 150 grand in a month, my brain doesn't go like, you're out of your mind. My brain goes, man, you're so lucky. I can't wait to get to the point where I can spend that type of capital on personal development to make those
Mm-hmm.
jumps.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the biggest takeaway, that people have to get over that fear. Because I think people have it in their mind that they're just afraid, well, if I invest into someone or get coaching or a program, that I'm going to get scammed, and they're worried about losing the money.
Mm-hmm.
And guys, you just have to realize that it's a risk, but you just have to constantly be learning new skills and stuff. You're never going to get there if you don't do this.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of it has to do with people being perpetuated by this whole thing that they're helpless, right? That's what I view whenever like people are like, you need to, well, I mean, obviously you have to have a certain amount of money saved for yourself and your family. I get that. I'm not speaking to those people. I'm speaking to the people that only say that they should save money, that you should just keep stacking cash in the back. Because, and the reason being is if you're not investing that money in yourself, like even though you're going to enjoy it later on a vacation, right? But think about it, if you would have spent half that time putting that money back into developing your earning capacity, imagine how big that pot of gold would be versus you just stacking it, just like consistently saving versus, okay, let me put some of that into making my dollars go higher. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So now that dollars are higher in the bank. Like it makes sense 100% around.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. So the biggest takeaway today, guys, is just an intro to it is, just like Wally was saying, step one is look over your budget, understand your finances, because you have to get you right first. Okay. This is it's so important, guys. If you can't manage your money, you're fucked. Okay. Think about, there's a reason why lawyers and doctors file bankruptcy the most in this country, because they make a lot of money. They have a shit ton of money coming in, but they can't manage it worth shit. That's why they're broke. Doesn't matter. Numbers on paper don't lie, guys. So you have to get your money and your expenses right. And then the goal, and what you got to do is embed into your entrepreneurial brain, is that you're saving to invest. So increase your income, know what your budget is that you need, and then everything above that increase of income needs to go aside. And when you're ready to jump into your business and you start having capital, then you can start making the other big jumps from your business, okay, of setting aside 40% and then once again, guess where that money goes? That 40% is going to go back into your business. So now you have money just cycling just back into feeding your business so you can make those jumps. It's called R&D, research and development. Tesla, Apple, all of them. If you look at their SEC filings every single year, R&D, billions of dollars. They set aside and spend billions of dollars into research and development back into their business. And it's the same thing. Just think of your investment as R&D as it is on an actual bank statement, your accounting statement. So that's the biggest takeaway, guys. I hope that was helpful. I'm really excited for this week to be able to jump into like more of these topics, kind of dive in. But before we did that, it's pointless if you don't get this part down. If you're not able to control your money and set money aside and track this stuff, guys, you're screwed. You're not going to do it. You're not going to be able to build the habits to invest. You're going to always miss out on opportunities. If you guys haven't seen Where Two or More Society, you can look that up on Facebook. We literally just talked about this. Wally did a whole segment on saying yes to opportunities and the importance of it, right? But if you don't get what we're talking about downright, you're fucked, because an opportunity is going to come and then you're going to be like, I can't.
I don't have money. Yeah, you're gonna be like, oh, I don't. You know, oh, I made this once in a lifetime opportunity. This guy will take. You know, I can buy mentorship from him. He'll take me on. I'm the only mentee he's ever gonna have. He just needs $5,000 one time payment, and he's gonna teach me everything he knows forever. And you don't have it.
Yep, you're fucked. I'm gonna say it how it is. You're fucked. And we've been there. Me and Wally both have, you know, opportunities. We're just like, fuck, man. Like, you know, we want to get into this, and it could be like 20 grand. And so we learned, you know, we learned a lesson. We understand the importance of it. Now we're focused on our business, setting money aside, scaling, and R&D is just key, guys. You never want to have that opportunity come to you where you can't say yes because you didn't have the capital. And you'll be able to be confident. You'll be excited. So when that opportunity presents itself, you're going to know, and you're not even going to blink, guys. You'll have 10 grand setting aside in the account. You're going to be like, this is where it needs to go. You'll know. You'll be like, I need to know. I need this knowledge. I need this skill. You won't even think twice about it. And then you'll get a return on that. That skill alone will help you, guess what? Fill your account up faster. You'll get back to the 10 grand plus some. Mm-hmm. And then guess what your goal is after that? I'm at 30 grand. How can I spend this 30 grand wisely? Because I need to build assets. I need this to get to 100K. Do I just keep setting aside at the rate I am now? Or do I spend this 30 grand to get to that 100K even faster? Right?
It's true. Well, you can even take it from another standpoint. It's like, okay, let's say it takes me 60 years to put 100K in the bank account, Dylan. Right? But I put it away consistently all the time, right? You know, every year I'm just kind of just like, okay, then you, instead of just putting away and getting to that 100 grand, you immediately say, okay, I got to 20 grand, right? And I know that I can buy these mentorship and courses that's going to help me make 100 grand in, you know, a year, right? So you drop it when you got to 30 grand, you drop your 30 grand. And now by the time 60 years has gone by, I only have 100 grand, but you probably have like $60 million because of all the mentorship and stuff you bought on the way. You know what I mean? So it just literally correlates to the end. It just says about how you think about it, right?
And I'll end with this, because this is something interesting that, you know, my Sifu Dan Locke had talked about. And you know, when we talk about 401ks and mutual funds and stuff, right? And we talk about the expense ratios. What most people don't know is when you invest in those things, you need to be at a minimum after taxes and stuff just to be above inflation. Let me say that again. Just to be above inflation after all expenses stuff came out. When you invest into a stock and mutual fund, you need to be getting a minimum of 12%, because after all the taxes and fees and everything, you're right there above inflation, right? So you're really not getting that big of a return. And that's not easy to do, guys. Just getting that 12% is not easy to do when you're investing stocks, and you don't even realize that you're blowing that fucking money. You may be looking at it, be like, yeah, I'm have 8% return right now, and after everything, you have no idea how fucked you are over the long term. But if you're here and you're listening and you want to be an entrepreneur, what Dan Locke talked about, I thought about, it makes so much sense, because when you're doing businesses and you're gaining these skills, guys, you're playing the 100 to 200 to 300+% game. You guys realize that, right? Like, you're not playing in this teeter-totter and 12% return. You're talking hundreds of percents of return on your investment when you gain these skills. This is why entrepreneurs do. This is what separates the high level from the low level of people who have no control over anything. When you have the skills to control shit, guys, your percentages go way up. 12% is like nothing. Like you don't even want to wipe your ass with 12%.
Dude, Dan Locke, the 12% for Dan Locke would make him cry right now. Honestly, let's just say it like that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing is, people are hearing that, they think that, they're like, that's fucking impossible. There's no way that you can put money into something and then spit out 100 to 200+% return on it. It's just not possible. Of course, it's not possible to you because you don't have the fucking skill set for it. And the only way you're going to get there is by setting money aside and investing into yourself instead of just blowing money on all this other stupid shit. So I hope that makes sense to you. I hope that just kind of has that epiphany and you get excited, and just knowing that, just knowing it's possible should excite you. Don't get bummed out. Don't be negative. and don't wallow in the sorrow of realizing like, okay, well, that's great. Like those people have been doing this for a long time. Yeah. So they have, and they learned it over time, which is what you have to do. So if it took them 10 years, then guess what? Is 10 years of your time learning this shit worth it? Fuck yeah. Like don't complain about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just wanted to end everyone with that. And then I don't want people, because I see people, they're so negative. They'll hear that and be like, oh, well, the owner Rich Dad Poor Dad's a billionaire. Or, Warren Buffett, he's already a billionaire. Like he knows all this stuff. Like that's great for him. It's easy for him to get that type of return. And it's like, guys, you realize that he started from shit. Like he had to learn all that over time.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. He does know that. So instead of me spending 50 years, because that's how long it took Warren Buffett, by the way, guys, if you didn't know that, 50 fucking years consistently to get to where he's at, I would rather just go to Warren Buffett and be like, hey, bro, I have $1 million set aside. Can you shorten that for me? Can you make that 50 years, 10 years? What do I need to know? Here's my $1 million. Just tell me right now. And I don't want to spend 50 years. What key takeaways can you tell me, Mr. Buffett? So I can get to those results much faster.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's all about. That's the key ingredient that you guys have to understand. And that's what it takes to be able to get successful as an entrepreneur. And if you don't do that, you're going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
That's the secret. If there's any gold secret from this episode, that's it right there. You don't do that, you will lose. 100%. Do you have anything to end on that, Wally?
Nope, you got it.
Cool. Well, yeah, guys. So thank you so much. Super excited for this series. I know if who's listening, they want to make money. Definitely tune in the rest of the week. We'll cover some different avenues, different types of assets that you can build and focus on. Maybe we'll throw some resources in too if anyone wants to look to, see if they have money set aside, what to invest in, who to follow, stuff like that. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hope you guys had an awesome knowledge boner experience, and we will catch you guys tomorrow on the next episode.